Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with Wyoming Gun Owners with the official WYGO 2024 general election recap video. There's no two ways of saying it. Everyone already knows it. Tuesday night, gun owners delivered an absolute boot stomping to Kamala Harris and every leftist up and down the ballot who wants to take away our right to keep and bear arms. We're never going to forget the message that was sent on Tuesday night. For 4 years, we've dealt with an out-of-control madman in the White House who's attacked our gun rights every other week with a new executive order that bypassed Congress and attacked our freedoms. For 4 years, we've wondered about weaponized agencies like the ATF coming after gun owners because they've been doing it for the last 4 years. For 4 years, it's been nonstop defense against this administration, and that ended on Tuesday night. The election results not only put Trump in the White House, it reshaped the Congress. We're going to break all that down in this video and then get to some of the most delicious wins that WYGO members achieved right here in Wyoming on Tuesday night. So first things first, as of right now, this is Friday afternoon, as of right now, Trump has 295 electoral college votes, and he's probably on his way to get as many as 312. We're still waiting for a final vote tally in both Arizona and Nevada, but right now Trump is leading in both of those states, and if he carries them both, he'll have 312 electoral college votes. It's a blowout. It's a blowout on Tuesday night. Now, a lot of times throughout the last 20 years, the Democrat candidate might carry the popular vote, and the Republican candidate often carries electoral college votes. That's why Democrats are always crying about their desire to get rid of the electoral college system. Of course, that wasn't a factor on Tuesday night because Trump didn't just win electoral college votes. He won the popular vote. Right now, he won that by about over 4 million votes. That number also might climb. So Trump obliterated Kamala Harris. Gun owners obliterated Kamala Harris. Anybody who cares about freedom at all helped to obliterate the radical left who spent 4 years coming after our Second Amendment freedoms. And of course, the down ballot benefits have been massive because the real question, separate from the presidential, the next question for Tuesday night was what was going to happen in the Senate. We had a 49-seat Republican minority for the last couple of years, and it was kind of expected to get the chamber back. We kind of more or less knew that Montana and West Virginia were going to go to Republican hands in the Senate, and that's exactly what happened. So right away, we went from 49 to 51. The problem, though, with 51 is that lets Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, these rhino backstabbing traitors from Maine and Alaska and Maine, sabotage Trump's agenda. They're anti-gun rhino Republicans. We know a lot about that here in Wyoming, right? They're terrible people, and they opposed Trump's agenda and his nominees 4 years ago. I guess it'd be, during his first tenure in the White House, and they would do it again. So 51 seats was not going to be a very comfortable margin for all of us that care about freedom because it puts all the power in the hands of Collins and Murkowski. Thankfully, gun owners in Ohio destroyed Sherrod Brown's career, and in Pennsylvania, gun voters took out Bob Casey. And so those are two more massive pickups for Republicans. That put us at 53. And we're still waiting on results in Nevada and Arizona. Right now, it seems probable that the race in Nevada goes our direction. And actually in Arizona right now, Kari Lake, who's been behind the polls this entire general election cycle, but of course, we know the polls all count for nothing. She is riding on President Trump's coattails so closely, there's actually a decent chance that she might win the race in Arizona as well. So again, right now, we have 53, which is great because it sidelines Collins and Murkowski. We're probably going to get 54, and we might even get 55. And so this would be a massive firewall for gun voters in the Senate. So that's the deal there. In the House right now, we're kind of at a bit of a standstill. We're still waiting for the races to be called, final races to be called. We need 218 to have the majority in the House. We've had the majority for the last couple of years. 218 is the magic number. And as of right now, well, it hasn't been called. It looks pretty favorable for the Republicans to hang on to the House. Our best guess tonight, again, this is Friday night, November 8th, is we're going to have somewhere between 218 to 220 votes on the Republican side in the House. It's the narrowest, it would be the narrowest margin, I think, in 100 years, 100 plus years for the United States House. Now, that's not exactly great, right? Like, we prefer to have 230, 240, because there's a whole bunch of rhinos in the current House Republican conference who are not good on guns and who would be very willing to block pro-gun bills. One example would be Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania. He's a Republican, sure. He's also the lead sponsor of H.R. 715, Joe Biden's universal background check bill, which has 200 plus Democrats on the bill as a co-sponsor. So someone like Fitzpatrick would never vote for gun rights. He'd never do it. So we would like to get 230 to have a margin, but the reality is that that's not going to happen. And I think the other reality is we have to acknowledge is that if we don't have 218 at a minimum, if the Democrats take the chamber, then immediately in January, Hakeem Jeffries will announce a new attempt to impeach President Trump. For what? I don't think it matters, right? I mean, they just might not, the color of his tie, you know, I mean, they'll make up whatever it is, but they will attempt to impeach him again. They would impeach him likely again. And then that would waste 2 years of President Trump's remaining 4 years in office. So at this point, if all we got was 218 and kept Trump out of this bogus impeachment crap, that'd be a big win for all of us in this country. So huge night in DC. Huge night in the White House, the Senate. Hopefully keep the House with a couple seats majority. It's going to be very, very small. And that, of course, brings up what happened here in Wyoming. Now, everyone knows that WYGO does our best work in the primaries because the primaries are pretty much all that matter right now in our state. We have a massive Republican majority, 29-2 right now in the Senate and 56-6 in the House. So the real battle is always the primaries, and we love doing our best work in the primaries, and we did that earlier this year. But you're never going to see us not take a chance to expose little leftist commies who want to destroy our beautiful Wyoming. So a couple examples from Tuesday night, races that WYGO members put a huge difference in. First one, House District 11, HD 11. This is the lovely Sarah Berling game. And by lovely, I actually mean nasty. Sarah, former state rep Sarah, she's a big advocate for all kinds of sexual perversion and degeneracy. And she wants to make sure your kids are force-fed a diet of this garbage in our public libraries. Sarah was in the House for 2 years previously, a hardcore anti-gunner. She's been lobbying for the last couple of years as an LGBT Q, A, B, C, D, God knows what, lobbyist who's always there to oppose our gun rights. She moved across town to the historic part of Cheyenne to a more favorable seat, she thought, and she ran for the House. She ran against Jacob Wasberg, who surveyed 100% with WYGO, and we played heavy in this race. Digital ads, text, email, the whole 9 yards. We love it. We love to expose radical commies like Sarah and tell people how pro-gun Jacob Wasberg was. And because of that, Jacob won by a margin of, let's see here, 1,774 votes to 1,481. So Sarah Burlingame had to move across town, and she still lost her race. So that's a big compliment to gun owners in the north part of Cheyenne. That brings up House District 41, Central Cheyenne, another open seat race. This is Jen Solis. Now, Sarah Burlingame is nasty, but Jen Solis might be the most crazy Democrat nominee that we saw this cycle. Starry-eyed radical leftist, no other way of saying it. She was absolutely going to be an enemy to gun owners, no question about it. Gary Brown, very much the opposite, very much pro-gun, very public about that, liked to campaign on that. So WYGO went heavy in this race. Same thing, digital ads, texting, social media, email, the whole thing. And of course, Gary Brown won his race by 187 votes. So gun owners were not just a factor here, they were the decision maker in this race. So huge shout out to WYGO members in HD 41. Another big one is House District 4. This is the north edge of Cheyenne, north up to, I think it's right around Glendale area. So this is north of Cheyenne, up kind of a very skinny district there. And this is Jeremy Haroldson. Now, for those who forgot, Jeremy Haroldson came into the legislature 4 years ago by primarying Dan Kirkbride, who was pushing gun control in the Judiciary Committee in the Wyoming House. And WYGO members destroyed Kirkbride 4 years ago. Still very happy about that. And Jeremy Haroldson been very pro-gun ever since then. In fact, this past session, he was the lead sponsor on WYGO's bill to get rid of deadly gun-free zones. We had this done in 2018. That was then Representative Bo Beitman who carried the bill for us, and Governor Meade vetoed that bill. As you guys all know by now, this year, same bill, different bill sponsor, same thing. Bill gets to the governor's desk, and this time Governor Gordon vetoes the bill. So we got a real problem with POS rhino governors in our state, as we all know. Jeremy Haroldson had a Democrat opponent, Charles Randolph. The guy was kind of an angry old man, but definitely a radical lefty. And we played in that race to educate gun voters on where both the candidates stand. And this one was not close. This was a blowout, 3,515 votes to 1,014. So, you know, it's always fun watching anti-gun Democrats get boot stomped by gun owners in the state of Wyoming. So right now, as we approach 2025, 29-2 is going to be the Republican-controlled majority in the Senate and 56-6 in the House. So we haven't quite stomped out every Democrat as gun voters, but damn, we're close. Now, of course, the real fight, as we all know, is not the general election. It's the primary. There are many Republicans who will be Democrats in any other state, but that's a problem for the primaries in 2026. So a huge shout out to gun owners, to WYGO members. We've notched huge victories in federal court in the last 12 months. We notched huge victories in Cheyenne last session by passing SF 109 and banning red flag gun seizures. And we notched huge victories in the primary, big ones, and a couple more nice ones right here, the cherry on top in the general election. So a huge year for WYGO members. You know, there's just so many states, so many red states where there's no organized state level gun rights group on the ground actually fighting for freedom. And Wyoming's been very special for a long time to have a group like WYGO here. You guys have been amazing. The impact that you guys have had, that we have had on Wyoming politics, has been extraordinary. And you have all kinds of little lefty pundits talking about this. A big shout out to former Speaker of the House, Tom Lobnow. Tom, I love your articles. I love them. Your information is always dated, but I love reading it. And you are right, though. WYGO members have reshaped the playing field in Wyoming. There's no two ways of saying it. They have destroyed rhino caucuses in the House, in the Senate. They have ended dozens of careers. They have given us now the most conservative House in modern times, maybe ever, in Wyoming. And we're going to have probably the most conservative Senate that we've had in, I don't know, freaking forever as well. So WYGO members have got it done. Every time they're asked to perform, they deliver. Of course, the state doesn't like that very much. The establishment doesn't like it very much. And they came after us a couple of years ago because people like Tom Lobnow didn't like what we were doing. And of course, as you guys know, when the state of Wyoming came and demanded that we give over our donor names, we sued their asses in federal court and we won a huge victory, which is why we can keep doing election programs like this in 2024. So a huge shout out to all of our members for all of your support. Next session is going to be lit because everyone knows the big agenda is going to be to, again, deal with the problem of repealing deadly gun-free zones. Again, Matt Meade vetoed this in 2018, and trash ball Mark Gordon did it a couple of months ago. He did it after we were adjourned for the year. So we had no time to override the veto, and we came this close to having the votes for a special session. We were a few votes short in the House. This upcoming session, this will be done. It's going to be done early, and then Gordon can veto it or not. We don't really give a damn, because when he does, this legislature is going to override that veto and ram it right up Gordon's tail. It's going to be a great session. That's agenda item number one. And number two is to enhance and finish the fight for Wyoming's Second Amendment Preservation Act. You guys all know what I'm talking about. We had a great version of SEPA 2 years ago that was drastically watered down by the moderates. And now it's time to come back in here and make a couple of tweaks and make Wyoming's SEPA law as strong as Missouri's SEPA law, which has always set the gold standard for SEPA in Red America. There were major attempts to water this down a couple of years ago, as you guys all remember, and every single one of the people who orchestrated that effort lost their primaries in August of this year. So again, WYGO members always pay dividends to people. If you fight for the Second Amendment, WYGO members fight for you. And if you screw with WYGO members and legislation, WYGO members will make you pay a price for that as well. It's going to be a great session. Looking forward to it. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much to every single WYGO member, whether you give $5 or $5,000, whether you make one call per session or 10 calls a day to your state rep. You guys are the army that makes all of this possible. Much more to come in the days ahead. For now, enjoy this smashing victory and gear up for a fun 2025. Take care.